Accept the responsibility for your own unique self-education. Your teachers are so eager to get paid that they don't care that you receive a coherent education. They will feed you pig dribble just to put food on their own table, and if you have teachers that can show you otherwise, ask them about students from the other semesters. To get through it all, you have to learn on your own, and your education has to be a million times more powerful than what top universities are pretending to sell for all the money that students and government can muster. The best way to accept the responsibility for your own education is to fulfill one of the major duties as a human being, which is, to put it simply, in the absence of authentic teachers, you become a teacher. The same platforms that are used to turn you into a pancake are very good for hosting your own lessons. You don't have to worry about having subscribers at all. Your broadcast is just to ensure the integrity of your self-education. Your actual legacy will demand a lot more wisdom. So your first lessons are just a powerful, independent start. And to be precise, you start with your own questions, your own curiosities, the very questions that really deeply call to you. I'll give you an example from my own life. I am a huge fan of the universe, the distant worlds, the possibilities, and all the endless permutations. Needing to learn English or sit in front of a TV for extended periods, I took to shows about aliens. Though unlike our moronic pseudo-educated senators, I felt strongly about Scully's mission, not Mulder's. And the words, "There has to be a rational explanation for this," will be stuck with me for life. Even so, my first trip to the New York Public Library was in search of answers about aliens and Mokili Mbe. But hey, a trip to the library will always make you wiser. Human beings are good at telling fiction from truth, so as long as they get enough information, so as long as they keep reading more and more books. And the particular book I found on that day made a huge mistake from the perspective of making stuff up. They crossed the streams. A beautiful thing to do as a science fiction writer, but a very bad thing to do indeed as a writer that hopes to be taken seriously. The story said that the Bigfoot was beamed down by a UFO. And in my teenage mind, a perfect little thought began forming. What I called ufology was the birth of a shared fantasy, a young religion. I ended up reading an entire shelf full of books about, quote, true, and quote, UFO stories in my teenage days, but every one of them through the lens of that newly forming shared fantasy, which undermined every other shared fantasy, some of which extremely deeply rooted, permeating entire agencies and nations. This was just a single row of paperbacks. The next row ignited my admiration for science popularizers, and after that I stuck with narrated books. What a thorn in the dark age of effective education must Carl Sagan's The Demon-Haunted World, Science as a Candle in the Dark, be. And in fact, Mr. Sagan describes how sad this simple belief in UFOs is, where the universe is so much more beautiful, so much more intricate. Today, my curiosity about UFOs is a very valuable embarrassment. I have had one foot in the dark ages because my teachers were that bad. As a side note, you should really pay attention how good teachers are at convincing you that your education is your own fault. That's actually something that they are pretty good at. I somehow ended up on the dean's list and have since distanced myself from organized education. I aim far higher at authentic excellence now. In another cosmos, one that I can traverse without worries about the twin paradox and itchy spacesuits, the infinite complexity world of powerful and beautiful programming. And I'll close by assuring you that my self-education is progressing daily. I just now looked at various solutions for automatic dependency management. In the world of reactive variables, commonly known as coding behind spreadsheet formulas and cells, because when you change one cell, a whole bunch of others automatically update. Today, this kind of programming sits behind web pages, forms, even server communication, and visual programming. And the exciting part, once you get into it, is how to manage dependent data best in the most beautiful and clear to read way for whatever it is that you are working on. Though a tiny part of software development, a very powerful one, as one change causes an automatic cascade of updates throughout your program. Something you would never want to program manually, but rather leave up to recursion, or maybe something flatter and similar to a flock of birds, as in a spreadsheet, where the birds don't have to communicate complex ideas about flight information, just keep next to one another the right way. And I pretty much think of data signals that way. I don't quite see it as a recursive algorithm, but rather more like a flock of birds in terms of communication. You have your own world of infinite complexity to discover, of course. Maybe genetics, maybe medicine, maybe history and the truth, maybe adventure, and reviewing and capturing all the beauty of the trails so that others can follow. Without a doubt, it will be an infinitely large and infinitely complex world, where you will make beautiful little flowers out of what will sound to everyone else like strange, though perhaps beautiful gibberish. In short, you learn best and rise the highest in your own pursuits of excellence, driven by your deepest curiosities. You don't have to learn every lesson in great detail, but independently reinvent it all on your own as you walk your own path, and then, by extension, grow all the way up until you become a great being.